We've got so many preconceived notions in our head about the way things are, the way things have always been. How many people have heard from your board of directors? Where's my board member? There we go. I knew you were over here somewhere. Right? Now listen, God love them, but we hear so many times from our board members, from our volunteers, from our membership, even from our own staffs, even from our own families sometimes. Oh, well, you know what, this is the way we've always done it, so that's the way we got to do it again. Right? Why? Why do we have to keep doing the same thing we've always done? Okay? It's time to start doing things a little bit differently. I know that there is a huge, huge trend right now in chamber world. We're all talking about Sarah Sladek's book. How many people haven't bothered to read it yet? Raise your hands if you haven't read the book. I told you I'm going to do things differently. Okay? Go get the book and read the book. It'll take you about 6 minutes. It's short. Matter of fact, read the first half, put the rest of it away because she repeats everything in the second half that she said in the first half. It's a great book. Okay? Go read the book. It'll take Sarah Sladek's The End of Membership as We Know It. Grab it, read it, and then put it aside. Guys, things are changing, and that's okay. Change is good as long as we're ready to change with it, as long as we're ready to grow with it, as long as we're ready to get something out of it. Okay? So when I say we're going to bash a few cows, I got to tell this story. I wasn't going to tell this, but I got to tell this story real quickly because I know I've got a couple extra minutes. We're sitting yesterday in Jefferson Parish meeting with Todd Murphy and some of his folks, and we're talking about a membership campaign. And at one point I said, you know what? We're not afraid every once in a while to punch a nun in the mouth. Yeah, I know. It was just, I don't know, it just came out of my head. I'm thinking, that's outrageous. Who would ever think of that? It's something different. Holy cow, I grabbed his attention. Everybody's like, whoa. Not 10 minutes later, he's asking me, by the way, because I had stepped out for a second, he asked me when I came back, he says, by any chance were there 2 young girls in Catholic schoolgirl outfits out there? And I obviously froze, because there's a whole lot of ways I could answer that question, and I thought, I don't know where we're going with this, let me let this one go. He says, yeah, my daughters are coming over to help me stuff some bags, and you know, they're like, holy cow, can I just retract the whole punching a nun in the mouth thing? Because that might not have gone over real well, and I apologize for it. Guys, stop it. Stop taking ourselves too seriously. Stop being ruled by what we used to do and start thinking about things as open books. We can change all the rules. We're the ones who have the power to do that in our communities. We can change the rules. We can change the game. And when we do that, our communities get stronger, our people get stronger, our chambers get stronger, and heaven knows our businesses in our community get stronger, and that's what this thing's all about. So we want to go in and talk a little bit today, if I can get there, about something that is near and dear to our hearts: recruiting, engaging, and retaining members, right? At some level, I'm going to ask you, which of these is most important? Matter of fact, just show of hands real quick. If you had to pick one of these three things to focus on: recruiting, engaging, and retaining your new members. Think about this for a second. If you think recruiting is the key, if that's the one we should be focused on, raise your hand nice and high. Really? Okay. How about engagement? Not bad. And retention? Okay. Looks like the winner is retention, but not by a whole lot. Engagement is pretty strong, and we'll challenge you. We're going to do this poll again here at the end of the session, and I want to see if your thoughts have changed a little bit and ask you why. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. Okay. First off, I learned a long time ago, when you give a presentation, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you have to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. So we're going to go back to the very basics and start off with the objectives here. The first thing that we want to do today, we want to talk about how to build what I call a strong value proposition that you can grow with. One that's not going to be, well, this is the way we've always done it. One that is flexible, one that's going to move and grow with you, with your community, with your particular set of circumstances, strengths, weaknesses, etc. Okay? Number 2, we're going to talk about why it's so important to build what we call a culture of engagement. Okay? A culture of engagement. I think everybody can already figure out which way I'm going to go on that poll, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And finally, how to build a retention plan, or what we like to call an engagement plan, that's going to be specific to your Chamber of Commerce, to your community. Fair enough? Good deal. Good deal. And oh, by the way, I should do this real quickly because I didn't do it earlier, and I apologize. When I say we, Membership 180 is not Jay. Membership 180 is Jay and my partner Annette Medlin, IOM. So she was kind enough to join me, and we'll be helping out a little bit later and jumping up, so just so everybody knows. Hi, Annette. so all together on the count of 3, we're going to finish this phrase, okay? If we keep doing what we've been doing, 1, 2, 3.
If we keep doing,
We'll keep getting what we've always got.
Basically, what everybody just said, paraphrasing, if you keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting, right? Everybody agree with that? Really? I'm going to challenge you. Stop it. Stop it. If you believe that if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, you're not paying attention to what's going on out there. And I'm going to tell you right now, we got to open our eyes, okay? If we keep doing what we've been getting, we're going to get less and less and less over time. Why? Let me tell you this. Let's just talk about this from a marketing perspective. We want to market to our new members, to our prospects, right? If we keep doing the same stuff we've been doing, it's going to become less and less and less effective than it ever was before. I don't know. I haven't listened to enough radio here in Louisiana. I tried, but I haven't done enough yet. But somewhere on your radio dial in your car right now is playing a commercial. And that commercial says something along the lines of, "Oh, friends, it's the best time ever to buy a brand new Toyota right now and only at..." Where's your dealership? Who is it? Who's the guy that screams at you all the time in your communities? Now all of a sudden everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Who's that dealership who screams at you? It's the best time ever to buy a brand new whatever, only right here. Your hometown dealer, right? And what do we do when that commercial comes on? Change the channel, turn the volume down, we do something else. We tune it out regardless, right? Why? Yeah, you know what? We're getting better. We're getting better. About a year and a half ago, when I said that, when I brought up that question, the answer was, well, because it's obnoxious, it's annoying, I can't stand his voice, it's loud, it's all these things. All of a sudden, now we just started getting more sophisticated. I've started to see this more and more the more I talk about this. It's not because he's obnoxious, it's not because it's annoying, it's not because he's loud, it's not because he's yelling at us. It's because it's a damn lie. Right? Everybody okay with that? It's a damn lie. How is it possible that this is the best time ever to buy a brand new Toyota, only at Toyota of Greer? How is that possible? Last week you told me was the best time ever to buy a brand new Toyota, only at Toyota of Greer. And guess what you're going to tell me next week? Same thing. Same exact thing. So how can we possibly believe you? How can we possibly believe the advertisements? Think about your favorite ads. Think about your least favorite ads. They're the ones that you don't believe anymore because you know it's spin. You know it's paid advertising. You know that they've bought that actor. You know what? I see Tommy Lee Jones walk out there like a man with a gun to his head talking about reverse mortgages, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me? Tommy Lee Jones is starting. What on earth have we come to? Are we supposed to believe that Tommy Lee Jones is getting himself a reverse mortgage for his mom? Silly. It's ridiculous. That's not what's going on. What's going on is somebody paid Tommy Lee Jones a boatload of cash to say whatever it is he's saying. And guess what? The people in your community, while they turn off the radio for that commercial just like you do, they also turn you off for the exact same reason. You, dear friend, are a paid spokesperson for the Chamber of Commerce. How does that make you feel? You're a pitch man, right? Now, let me step away from the brink for a second. Obviously, we are so much more than that. Obviously, there's so much more to the job than that. But from a marketing standpoint, when you're standing in front of a prospective new member, or when your membership director is doing it, you are a paid spokesperson for the Chamber of Commerce, and of course you're going to say all those wonderful things. Why on earth wouldn't you? Of course you're not going to tell me the one problem that you had 6 years ago. Why would you tell me about that? It was 6 years ago and it doesn't matter. It was one person that had the problem. We fixed it since then, right? We're going to put the best spin possible on things. So, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get less and less and less out of your efforts because people are wise to it, right? If I said to you, and somebody actually used this one on me, Ron, I think it was you. I'm pretty sure it was Ron. Said something to the effect of, well, you know what, there's this, method that I heard the other day that I kind of liked a lot. Listen, I could do this on Thursday or I could do it on Friday. Which would be better for you? What is that? Anybody remember what that close is called? Nobody? Really? Oh man, that's good stuff. How many people have been in sales, like long-term sales in the past? There we go, there's the issue. We don't have a whole heck of a lot of long-term sales folks out there. All these alternate and pendings and all of these other things that we used to play, all these tricks and traps and strategies and methods and tactics that we used to have for separating poor Ron from his money. Poor Ron, he's got all this money and I want some and I'm just gonna dupe him. I'm gonna take his money, I'm gonna use all these tricks and I'm gonna get his money away from him. And unfortunately, or actually in my case, I think fortunately, we got wise, we got more sophisticated, and it happened over a long period of time because we heard all of these different pitches. We heard all of these different closes. We've all gone to the sales training. We've all gone and see, all of these speakers get up and tell us, well, don't just tell them we can do this on Thursday. What time do you want us to do it? No. Listen, I've got an opening Tuesday between 2 and 5. I got another one on Wednesday between 4 and 3, 3 and 4. Which one's better for you? Give them more options. Let them tell you how they want to buy. And that's great. Except that we've gotten smarter. We know that's what you're going to do. We know what game you're playing, okay? We got to start changing it up. We got to do something different, and that's where we're going to start. Be careful with this thing. The old value propositions, right? Our old value propositions, they look a lot like this. They look a lot like this. Can you guys see around me? Get down here so you can see around me. They look a lot like this. And this, and this, and this, and this. Guess what? If this is your value proposition, if you're out there in the marketplace looking for new members and you're recruiting based on these old value propositions, you're going to get less and less and less than you ever have before. Why? Because nobody believes that you're the best at this anymore. You might be, but they don't believe it. Social media has taken your place. Is that true? I don't think so, but they'll tell you that. How many people have heard that in the last couple of months, talking to a prospective new member? Oh, I don't need the networking events. Social media is going to take care of that. Or how about this one? I love this one. Networking events aren't important to me, because I'm a small mom and pop, and I don't have time to come to the networking events, so I'm never going to show up to those. So you know what? The Chamber of Commerce has nothing for me. Have we heard it? Yeah, the heads are bobbing. Good. Here's the deal. Take a look at your chamber. What percentage of your membership shows up to your monthly meetings, to your business after hours, to your breakfasts, to the normal, customary, well, that's what we've always done, networking events? What percentage? Tell you what, I'm not going to ask you to put yourself on the spot. I'm going to throw a number out there and you tell me if I'm close or if I'm way off. I'll bet you it's 10% or less. Anybody doing better than that? Where? 40% of your membership shows up for networking events. For lunch. Okay. Okay. That's outstanding. I mean, it's how many? What's total? Say it again. No, free food. Yeah. What's the total membership? Okay. Not to, that makes some sense. Larger chambers, anybody over 8%? That's not. Smaller chambers, anybody even close to 40%? Even close? That's remarkable. Great job. Like 43 you said percent, give or take? That's remarkable. Ribbon cuttings. I'm not even going to ask the question because y'all just laughed at me, so I'm not going to bother asking the question. It's 5% or lower, and in most chambers, it's 2.5% or lower.
We're like two people.
Right? Annette ran a chamber. Annette ran a chamber in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, in Georgetown, South Carolina, which is in between Myrtle Beach and Charleston. And when we went to ribbon cuttings for her chamber, we had 2 people show up for a ribbon cutting once, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So here's my question to you. Why on earth are we leading with that? Why is that our best foot forward? Well, we do great ribbon cuttings and networking events. You'll meet all these great people, and you're going to ring registers, and you're going to open doors, and the bells are going to ring, and your phones are going to be off the... Why? Does anybody believe that by simply joining the Chamber of Commerce, any of those things are going to happen for their businesses? Do we believe it? Do we believe, seriously, who believes in this room that by simply joining the Chamber of Commerce, A local business in your community is all of a sudden going to benefit with extra phone calls, with doorbell rings, with website visits and all of those things just by joining the Chamber of Commerce. Anybody? Of course not. No, you don't. Stop it.
There are certain businesses I would say yes.
Okay.
Like hotels.
Okay.
Because we do have people who call and ask for those references.
Okay.
But for the majority, for the other 99% of our members, not a darn thing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Hotels are a good example. Restaurants are probably another one. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go with that. Very, very minimal. So roughly 1% of our business might get something just by signing up. So we need to start thinking about a new value proposition, because the old value proposition, we do great at parties, makes us nothing better than cheap hacks and event planners. And that, doggone it, is not what we are. It's not what we do. Anybody in here who's in the event planning side of things? I know there was one that I heard back in the back. Raise your hands, event planning folks. Please, 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 don't you dare misunderstand me. I am not by any means saying that what you do is not vital to your communities. Oh, it is. The problem is, if there's a problem, is that it's not vital to 90% of your chamber members. It's vital to the 10% that you serve, and there's no way that we're going to do away with you. We need you. We love you. You do a phenomenal job at what you do in your communities, right? The events are important, but they're not what we're going to lead from when we're talking value proposition. They're not what we're going to lead from when we're talking about how do we bring new members to the table. Because guess what? If you show up at my door and you say to me, Jay, I want you to join the Greer, South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, and here's why. We have great networking events, and we do ribbon cuttings, and we'll do a ribbon cutting in your office. Well, guess what? First of all, I'm a home-based business. I don't have an office. My office is my recliner. That's where I am. By the way, anybody who ever talks to me on the phone, if you talk to me on the phone and I'm not traveling, I am probably in my recliner working. That's where I am at. I know, I've just completely shattered the illusion, right? But that's what I'm doing, right? Annette's up in the loft doing her thing, and she's working in an actual office setting. Me, I'm just comfortable. I'm just casual. It's how I work. So, ribbon cutting, I'm not having anybody come to my recliner to cut a ribbon. Number two, well, not that I'm going to bring a bunch of people to anyway, it might happen, but can we set up a ribbon cutting at the house for my recliner? Would that be okay? She's not paying attention to me anymore. She tunes me out because I do the same thing all the time, so she doesn't even listen to me anymore. As far as networking events go, I travel too much. And quite frankly, nobody in Greer, South Carolina, with the exception of the chamber executive in Greer, South Carolina, is my customer. Why on earth am I going to be there? That doesn't make any sense to me. So if that's your value proposition, if this is what you're going to hit me with on why I should join the chamber, you're going to lose me, and you're going to lose 90% of the people that you talk to, because those are the folks who aren't going to show up. I can tell you this, it doesn't take a crystal ball to portend the future, to figure out where we're going to be tomorrow, because guess what? We're already there. It's not telling the future when you're already there. What we need to be doing is changing the value proposition. So let's think about this for a second. If 10% or fewer, 2.5% if we're talking about ribbon cuttings, if 10% or fewer of our membership cares, truly cares, about our networking events and our ribbon cuttings, what on earth should we be talking to people about when we're talking about joining the chamber? What we like to talk about is flipping, membership 180. Why 180? Because we're turning everything 180 degrees. We're going to take the old value proposition and twist it and turn it on its head. Value proposition says your ribbon cuttings and your networking events go at the bottom. At the top of the list are those things that you do as a chamber for your community where everybody in the community benefits. Not just your members. Hang on a second. Jay's actually suggesting that we as a chamber should do things for our community who are not members of our chamber. Yeah, I am. All right, take out the club, go find the cow, we're going to hit him in the head. Guys, we've got to do some things that we haven't done in the past. We've got to reach out to our communities. We've got to do special things. And here's the beauty of it. You're already doing it. You're already doing it, right? I don't know your situations individually, so I can't use a great example locally, but I'll use a couple examples from clients of ours across the country. Quad Cities, right on the border between Illinois and Iowa. 4 different cities came together, 3 chambers and an economic development council. They've come together and formed the largest chamber in all of that region. I mean, almost in the Midwest, 2,100 members, something like that. Massive, massive, massive. Okay, the vice president or CEO of John Deere Companies sits on their board of directors. This is the kind of company that we're talking about. And their chamber is instrumental in making sure that the Rock Island Arsenal in Rock Island, Illinois stays put, stays strong. Why? Who has military in their communities? Anybody? Why? Who cares about the Rock Island Arsenal staying in their community? Which base?
We have Fort Polk.
Okay. What's the economic impact of Fort Polk on your community?
Enormous.
Yeah.
It is the largest payroll in the state.
In the billion area, right? Yeah, clearly, easily. And I can tell you that because every community that we work with that has military in it, it's $1 billion, billion with a B, $1 billion economic impact or higher in their communities. If that thing goes, guess what? Everybody goes with it, right?
Right.
Everybody goes with it. Oh, but Jay, I don't deal with the military. I don't take any government money. I don't get any business from the government. Well, guess what? You're gone too. Because when the military pulls out, when that base gets closed down, businesses that do business with the government shut down, the people leave town, and you have no new customers, no more customers at all, because they're all leaving town. You want to take a look at it? Go to Rockford, Illinois, and go take a look at what's gone on there in the last 20 years. The automotive industry was their big killer there. Okay? They were supplying everything that got bolted on, strapped on, glued on, pressed on, whatever, to an automobile in Detroit. It was made in Rockford, Illinois. And then all of a sudden, Detroit started having some problems. Anybody hear about anything like that? Detroit started having some problems. And the next thing you know, manufacturing in Rockford is gone. Rockford had a choice. Their choice was, we're going to play it safe, we're going to wait, and it's going to come back. It's not a big deal. We're okay. Everything's going to be fine. And guess what? 20 years later, it ain't fine. There's nothing fine about Rockford, Illinois anymore. It's a doggone ghost town. I drove through there a couple months ago. It is absolutely vacant, and it's sad to see. That's where I grew up. Years later, I moved to Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville, South Carolina was the hotbed of of the textile industry in the United States. If it was coming out, if you were going to wear it, it went through Spartanburg or Greenville, South Carolina. That's where it was all made. Until all of a sudden the Industrial Revolution of the 2000s came along, and we realized, you know what? That garment that you're wearing, we can assemble that and do all of that stuff so much cheaper if we just shipped it overseas. Let's send it to India. Let's send it to Bangladesh. Let's send it to Korea. Let's send it to China. Let's send it wherever and let them do it for pennies on the dollar. And guess what? Greenville, South Carolina's entire industrial complex shattered. They had a choice. We could stick our heads in the sand like Rockford, Illinois did, or we could do something different. We could look at things a little bit differently. And in the last 20 years, they have created a knowledge-based economy in Greenville, South Carolina that I would put up against any economy in any city, in any state in this country. It is an incredible change that's gone on in that city. And it's all happened because leaders at the Chamber of Commerce put together a campaign. They brought in the leaders of the community, and they made something happen. They changed the way the game was played. And I'm telling you right now, you don't need a crystal ball to see it. The game has already changed. If we know we got to do something different, we need to start talking about the bigger picture items. So, anybody want to volunteer what is massive in your community that the Chamber of Commerce is spearheading? Maybe it's a bridge that's being redeveloped or repaired. Go ahead. What have you got?
The city of Roe Bridge has their bridge, which is probably one of the best things we have in our area, because we've actually had like 3 weddings under that bridge in the last probably 5 years. But everyone that comes to our small community takes a picture of the bridge. Of course, it has the big crawfish on it. And the state told us that they were not going to repaint it. Never going to happen.
And who led the charge to make sure they got repainted in Chamber of Commerce? And guess what happens? Chamber doesn't get any credit for that, did they?
Well, we didn't. We're not. We just started.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you, in our community, when I took over, it was big sacred house. We do that, and my board was, well, we've never done that before. That was their favorite line, you know, and I would just tell them, it's like, okay, is there a rule that says that we can't do it? And what I do in our newsletter, because we're still about 2 years behind the times, they like paper. We put our successes down there, and a few of the things that we've done since '07, we had a state park
That's the point. That's the point right there. It's those things that we do that we may never get credit for, or maybe we will, probably not. We may never get credit for. It's those things that we do. Well, and you just said, you lead off with it in every newsletter, and that's phenomenal. And I'm gonna tell you, there are a lot of chambers out there that would be scared to death to do that. Oh, well, we don't wanna take the credit for it. We don't want anybody to get angry with us. We don't wanna. And your board is just, well, no, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. We can't do that. We don't wanna be the bully. We don't wanna be the ones taking credit for it. We didn't do it all alone. Guess what? Just out of curiosity, do you know what the economic impact of that project was? Do you know what it brings to your community?
I don't.
Go look at it, because I'm telling you something, that's what you need to push. Everything you're doing is dead on. There's one little piece that I would add to it, and it's that economic development. It's that economic impact piece.
I will tell you, what we're working on now, and we're doing it behind the scenes, because our parish is, I hate to offend people, we are a male-dominated society, and as a female in the chamber, I am merely just the secretary.
Of course.
So what I've learned is, we do things quietly behind the scenes, and we let the big boys all, puff.
Everybody all together, what are we going to tell her? Stop it! Stop it! No, you know what? I'm not even going to let you finish that. Stop it. That's ridiculous, and you need to stop that.
What we're doing right now, very quietly behind the scenes, we are working with our police.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
And we do not have an economic developer for the parish. We are so behind the times, and we are getting so close to this. And if it means that we work behind the scenes and we let the big boys all pump up, we will do that. And once it does come, I am going to blast this all over the place. Because we have worked with them, and I think that it's gonna become reality, so I think it's cool.
Share, you know what? Share the credit. Don't give it all, and don't sit back and wait, because I'm telling you, that's the story.
I know my community, we almost blew this because in our installation ceremony, my incoming president, as one of her goals that year, was to encourage economic development in the parish. The paper's headlines had a different verb, and the headline was, Chamber pushes for economic developer. And I will tell you, the leaders in government almost scratched the entire thing because of that friggin' verb.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know my community,
I get you.
still after, but not now.
I get you, absolutely. Hang on, April?
Yes, this is before my time at the chamber, but the Louisiana Parish Chamber of Commerce brought in grants, was very, very instrumental in bringing Grass Pro to Livingston Parish, as well as.
Yeah, but that's a tiny little project. That probably didn't mean much to your community.
Well, and let me tell you, they haven't joined, even after all that.
No. That's not what I said.
What?
That's not what I said. I didn't say, gosh, that's a tiny little project. It probably didn't affect your chamber. I said, that's a tiny little project. That probably didn't affect your community. What's the effect on your community?
Substantial.
Okay, do you know? Okay, now hang on a second. I'm gonna put you on the spot because I can do that, and because I'm sending, and because I'm giving you a scholarship to Institute, so you're gonna be able to answer this differently next year. What's the economic impact?
I can get the numbers, but they're out of my head.
All right, well, but April, that's the story. That's the story. The story is, here's what we did. They're not even chamber members. And here's what they're doing in this community, and guess who brought them here? That's the story.
Our friend Doug Peters in Fayetteville, North Carolina says, we do the things people think just happen. And it's true. That's what we do every single day. The things people think just happen.
That's it.
Listen, when we go out on membership call, we talk about the fact that the value of the membership in our chamber is $48 million. We saved the last plant for $12 million worth of salary, and if a dollar rolls 4 times in the community, it's $48 million. You're gonna spend the money in your business and other business, that's what we're doing.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing. Listen, we are the voice. That's huge. We are the voice for business in our community, and we're going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that we do everything we can to help you, whether you're a chamber member or not. But we want your support, and we think we deserve it. How powerful a message is that? And you know what? On top of that, on top of all that, we do great networking events and ribbon cuttings and all of those other things if you're available for those kinds of things. And by the way, we've got a phenomenal committee that you might be absolutely perfect for because you just said it, you're interested in economic development or membership or, right? All those things are important. They're just not the most important thing. They're not what we're going to lead off with. They're not our best foot forward. That story is your best foot forward. You could not tell a better story in your community than that story right there. And once you get the numbers memorized, that's...
They all see the road around it though, so
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what? They all hear the radio commercial too. So, you know, they might see it, but that doesn't mean that they associate it to you, and that doesn't mean they're giving you any credit for it. That doesn't mean that they find any value in the Chamber of Commerce because of it. We have to tell our stories, and guess what we are miserable at? Terrible. We're terrible. Chambers of Commerce across the country, and it's not just here, and it's not just you folks, it's all chambers across the country with very, very few exceptions. We're terrible at telling our stories. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Guys, that's a solid value proposition. Here's what the Chamber of Commerce is doing in our community, for our community, every single day. Annette mentioned Doug Peters. I'll tell you one more quick story about him before we move forward. Doug Peters, we had a membership campaign there in Fayetteville a couple of weeks back. During the campaign, we get there, and this was just before sequestration was about to hit. The weekend before, right? We show up, we're doing the event, and sequestration hit immediately after the event, basically. Actually, I take that back. It happened while we were there. It actually happened while we were there. Doug, we asked everybody, so what were you doing on Saturday? What were you doing on Saturday? And all these volunteers from all across the city said, oh, well, I was playing, you know, Little League with my kids. Oh, I was at the store working. Oh, I went away on the lake and I did this, and this. Awesome. Doug, what did you do this weekend? Guess what he said? I spent 4.5 hours at Fort Bragg, busting my hump, yelling, talking, screaming, begging, pleading, whatever I could with the commanders on the post, with the media, with members of the community, just trying to figure out what we can do to help, because sequestration is about to happen and we need to make sure that we're ready for it so that we have a response. 4.5 hours on his Saturday, that's what your chamber executive was doing. Guys, there are a number of stories every one of you could tell about things that you couldn't go to, events that you had to miss, weddings that you couldn't attend, graduation ceremonies that you couldn't be at because you were doing something so much more valuable, so that you were so much more passionate about for your communities. Those are our stories. Those are the things that are going to set us apart. It's those things that we go without to make sure that our members and our communities don't have to. Those are our stories, and those are the things that we need to be talking about. That's where we need our focus to be. Second piece of the puzzle. We need to build what we call a culture of engagement at our chambers. Can everybody read that from the back? I just think it's cute. The boss says we need more of what the management experts call employee engagement. I don't know the details, but it's something to do with you idiots working harder for the same pay. Gilbert says, is anything different on your end? He says, I think I'm supposed to be happier. Guys, engagement is the key. I just gave away the poll at the end, didn't I? Engagement is the key. We have to build a culture of engagement in our organizations. Why is engagement the key? Why engagement over retention? Engagement is retention. Engagement leads to retention. If I know for a fact that Dawn is engaged, I know for a fact Dawn's coming back unless she just flat out cannot write the check. Right? And chances are, if she's really engaged and she flat out can't write the check, she's going to cancel something else before she cancels the chamber membership because she's passionate about it. It's about creating a culture of engagement. When I say a culture of engagement, I'm not talking about, well, did this member show up for business after hours? Did they show up at this event? Did they show up at that event? Did they come to the annual meeting? Did they participate as an ambassador or a diplomat or you know, whatever the case may be? Guys, engagement might be for that person. Do they open our emails every single week? Guess what? You may never see that person. You might not recognize them when they pass you on the street, but they open your email every single time and they digest it, they ingest it, they read every last word. Is that a less engaged member because he doesn't show up at a networking function? Well, clearly from the earlier discussion, I don't think so. We have to do a better job of understanding what engagement is, of measuring it, and of creating an opportunity for people to get more engaged their way, okay? I told you earlier, Membership 180 is about turning it upside down. We're going to turn it upside down. It's not about how the chamber does things anymore. If you're worried about how the chamber does things anymore, you're missing the picture. The picture is, it matters how they take in your services and your products, not how you deliver them, how they take them in. You can send out emails all day long, but if your community thinks email is passé, If your membership isn't going to read the emails, why are you sending out emails every week? Maybe you need to do something different. Maybe we need to think about a billboard. Maybe we need to do direct mail. Holy cow, I can't believe I just said that out loud. Maybe we need to do something different that's going to make some sense, right? We've got to talk to them on their terms, in their language, the way they need to be talked to. We need to use our chamber. We need to use our resources. We need to use our time, our staff, our money, our events, all of the things that we do to get them engaged at a new level. And we have to stop looking at engagement as, are they coming to our engagements? It's not what this is about, okay? Not for 90% of your businesses, it's not.
We have almost lost a couple of members, and I'll tell you why. They'll call and it's recruitment time to get them reactivated. And when, I can't go to any of your meetings, I'm too busy. And our comment is, that's a good problem to have, but we want to thank you for being involved with us, because your investment helps us do the following things. And all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off, it's like, oh, okay, we never. They will call and apologize. I'm so sorry I can't go. It's like, do not apologize.
Somebody tell me what the problem is. Come on, somebody here has that crystal ball. Somebody can read my mind. What am I going to say to Lynn?
Stop it.
Yeah, but she's missing something. What is she missing? It's great that when they said that to you, you had an answer. You should have never let them say it to you. Shame on you for letting them say it to you. And you and I have talked, so I feel like I can say that to you and you're not going to take it the wrong way. Shame on you for letting them even think that. Here's the reality. Here's what I would do, okay? I would make sure that I have somebody on my staff who's in charge of engagement. We like to call them an engagement concierge. We want somebody on staff who's making contact with everybody who is not engaged the old way. Somebody who's making sure that they're making contact with the people who we never see, never hear from, never talk to. They don't show up at events. They don't do those things. We want to make sure that we know long before they are up for renewal what their challenges are. And we need to make sure that we are building an engagement plan specific to that individual member. Guys, that's tough. And a lot of you are shaking your heads right now, whether visibly or not, saying there's no way, I can't afford another staff person to do nothing but engagement concierge work. I can't afford somebody who's just going to go pay a visit to my members every single day and learn what they want and learn what they need and make sure that we're delivering on that promise before we get there. But here's the problem. If you don't, they're going to go away. If you let them get to that point, now, you saved that one, and that's awesome. My thought process on it is, if we're telling our stories, if we're telling the story that we're talking about here, if we're sharing that value proposition that we're talking about here, then the conversation's never even going to come up. And that's the better problem to have, is that conversation never comes up and you never even had a question whether that guy was at risk. You knew he wasn't at risk because you knew what was going to keep him. You knew you were delivering on that promise, and you had a commitment from him that said, yes, you're delivering on that promise, and no, I'm never leaving this Chamber of Commerce. Guess what? You can get that from most of your members. You really can, and it's not that much harder than what we're doing now. We just need to shift the focus from putting on member events to putting on memorable events, to putting on events that people are going to say, man, oh man, that was awesome, and it was a value to me. Let me tell you about value real quick. I got you. I'm coming next. I'll tell you something about value. Anybody ever heard of Danny Hearn? Besides like half the room probably, right? If you're involved at Institute at any level, you know Danny Hearn. Danny Hearn in Catawba County, North Carolina, has done away with a lot of his networking events, a lot of them. And here's why. They went and they did a cost analysis, and I'm not just talking about how much money do we spend, I'm talking a full-on cost analysis of every event they do, every one of them. How much money do we spend? How many volunteer hours? How many staff hours? Put all that together with the cost of doing the event itself. What does it all cost? And what they found was on most of their events, they're losing money. They didn't know it before because they weren't putting staff and volunteer time in the equation, okay? But when they did that and realized, holy cow, we're losing money every single time we do one of these things. And oh, by the way, it's the same 25 or 50 or 150 people showing up every time. They come, they get their free drink tickets, they sit with the same group of people, they wine and dine themselves, it's the booze and schmooze kind of a concept, right? And very little business gets transacted. A bunch of people, the really aggressive salespeople types start throwing their business cards around. But what you find is, in most cases, it's salesman to salesman, right? It's not B2B, it's S2S. I don't know how many of you are professional salespeople, but a long time ago, that's all I did. And I can tell you right now, the worst thing in the world for me was to walk into a room with a bunch of other salespeople. Guess why? They don't carry checkbooks. They can't stroke a check. They can't do business with me. Now, I can build a network, but there's still another step in the process before I even get close to the guy who can stroke the check. Why am I coming to that event? It doesn't make any sense. So here's what Danny did. He said, we're not doing networking anymore. We're doing something called net giving. And he instituted a new policy. At this networking function that he does one of them, not 6, 1. And at that net giving function, when people show up, they get a little 3x5 index card, and they write on that card something that they're looking for. That's it. What are they looking for? It could be a guy looking for a plumber. I need to meet a plumber. Or it could be, I'm looking for new business, I really need to meet a new attorney in town. Or it could be, I'm looking to go to Disneyland next month and I have no idea, I've never been there before, I need somebody who's been, who can help me plan my vacation. And the rest of the meeting, after they filled out these forms, the rest of the meeting, they save 30 minutes for the traditional networking, that you can go do that, the booze and schmooze if that's what you want to do in the back corner. But the rest of the time, they stand up on stage and they read one at a time each and every one of these cards that they just got. And they say, okay, Jay's looking for somebody who's been to Disneyland and can help him plan a vacation. Who here can do that? And 3 hands go up. Great, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, ready, go. Hands in the card and away they go. How much value did you get out of that meeting? We focused on you for 2 minutes. About the same amount of time that we take to do our little 30-second commercials, because everybody knows those little 30-second commercials are never 30 seconds, right? Especially with those good salespeople, because they're going to milk it for every minute they can get. They're going to tell a joke so you laugh at them, right? But in that same 2 minutes, we can focus on that person, we can hook them up with a specific need that they came to get met, and they can walk away saying, man, oh man, the Chamber of Commerce just hooked me up. I went to Scott's event, and I got value out of it. I actually met the person I needed to meet. I've got new business coming. I got whatever it was that I wanted out of it. That's valuable. Guess what's happened to his one networking event a month? Attendance has tripled. And then went higher, and then went higher, and then went higher. They're looking at numbers they've never seen before because people are getting value, right? We're engaging. We've got engagement as the only thing on our minds. It's all we're doing is how can I get these people engaged? Because if we engage them, we're going to retain them. And guess what? If they're engaged, the next step in the puzzle, if they're engaged, they're going to give you referrals. If they're engaged, they're going to bring their people in. If they're engaged, they're talking about you in the street the way that you want to be talked about in the street. Right? Not like the guy who went for a year and then left and never came back again. Don and I were talking about those folks earlier. Right? Not like those guys. They're talking about you in the street in a whole different way and you don't want to hear what they're saying. Okay? But you better hear what they're saying. It's important.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I have a lot of interest in the engagement of all those on board, because I feel like you engage them and retain them. And like Lynn was saying, telling them, I think is a good thing too, that this is what we do. So is that what you're suggesting? Is that
Absolutely.
saying, you know, contacting them, saying, what is it that you need from us, what can we do for you? And
You bet. Think about it like this, and you know, I mentioned the idea of this membership concierge, or what I like to call an engagement concierge. Think about this for a second. When you go to a nice hotel, what does the concierge do? They open the door, they carry your luggage. What else? They make arrangements for you. Oh, you want to go on a sightseeing tour? No problem, we can do that. They tell you where to eat. They give you good recommendations on where to go for food. What else do they do? Think about all these things that a good concierge is going to do, okay? How tough would it be to have one of your membership people devoted to that? Okay? Yeah, Jay, that's a great idea. We don't have enough new members coming in as it is. We're going to take one of our membership professionals and make them focus on engagement instead. How on earth are we going to keep the doors open? Anybody want to answer it for her? What's easier, bringing in somebody new or keeping somebody old? Always easier, right? Always easier to keep a member than to find a member, isn't it? What's the long-term value of a loyal chamber member who's going to be with you for the next 10 years, as opposed to the crapshoot, if you will, of rolling the dice, Sending somebody out, having 10 or 20 meetings before they finally crack one, because that's about the number, right? 10 or 20 appointments before we actually get one to say yes on average. Anybody disagree with that number? Somewhere in that ballpark, it's a big range, so I think fairly safe, right? Think about how much time they're spending not bringing in a new member. How much more valuable would that time be if they were actually visiting with somebody who's already invested in your chamber? How much more important would that person's time be if they're meeting with somebody who's already invested financially, time, emotion, all of those things in helping build your chamber? They're already there. So you can tell me all day long, yeah, but Jay, I can't afford to let go of one of my salespeople or turn them into a concierge, but you know what? I'm not sure you can afford not to in some cases. In some cases. Everybody heard that, right? In some cases. Not all the time, but it can help. In some situations, it's going to be better for you.
So why can't our ambassadors be those concierge?
Anybody want to jump in? Why can't your ambassadors, your diplomats, be that concierge? Say it again.
Sometimes they barely show up for anything.
They're volunteers. They're volunteers and they've got another job. You don't have the time to commit to this. This is a full-time job. This is a commitment. I mean, to do something like this, and again, I'm not saying this is right for every community. I'm just saying this is one of those things that we might want to look at. This is one of those sacred cows that might need to be clubbed over the head. It might not make sense to carry 2 or 3 membership professionals whose sole job is to go out and recruit new membership. We might want to take one of them and move them to an engagement position. We might want to think about things a little bit more strategically, that's all. Right? I'm not telling anybody to go fire anybody. I'm just telling you to evaluate your staff and evaluate your chamber and evaluate the situation and take it back to your board and say, hey, what if? What if? Right? I would tell you one of the very first things that I'd be looking at in deciding whether or not I wanted to do this, I'd look at my retention rate. What's my retention rate? Who was it? Was it you and I were talking? And I mean, Dawn said my retention rate's 92, 94, 96. Guess what? I think Dawn's doing a pretty good job. I'm not sure that Dawn needs to change what she's doing. She may differ. She may think differently. She knows more about what's going on there. But how many people here are under 70% retention? Really? How many people are under 80% retention? 85? Oh, see, that's the problem. I said 70 and I didn't see any hands go up. Then I said 80 and I got one of these little... Put your hands high in the air. Who's below 85%? There we go. Right? If you're not where you want to be, maybe there's some reason. More importantly, maybe there's a solution. And that's what we're all about. We're not about the problems, right? If I tell you I got a problem, what am I going to say? Stop it. You know the solution. And if you don't know the solution, you know how to find it. There are people in this room. There are professionals out there who will help you. And you know what? Just because we're here today, we are here for you whenever you need us. If you ever come up to a problem and you're banging your head against something, you think, you know what, I'm not sure what to do, please, 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 I beg of you, call me. I'll have my cell phone number up here later. Every single person on here, I want to be your go-to guy. Annette wants to be your go-to girl. If you have a problem and you can't figure out, gosh, I don't know what to do, if you just want to bang it against somebody else and there's no other, oddly enough, there's no other chamber executive in your city and you just want to talk about it with somebody safe, give us a shout. We'll do that with you anytime, no charge whatsoever, just because we love you. Okay? But guys, find someone you can talk to. The answers are out there. And it's not hard. The problem is that we're not thinking, I hate this phrase, you know what I'm going to say, right? We're not thinking outside the box. We're thinking in that old dynamic. We're thinking in that, well, it's the way it's always been done. That's the way we've got to do it. Well, stop it. Stop it. If you get nothing else out of me being here for the next 2 days, take stop it back home with you. And start incorporating it in everything that you do. Because I'm telling you, those old ways, those old methods, those old thoughts, those old lines of habit, that's all they are, is old. Stop it. It's time to move forward. And building a culture of engagement is the way we're going to do it. Okay? We just flip through some of these. Who do we need to get involved? Who do we need to get engaged? It's not just our community. It's not just the members. By far, there are bigger issues at stake here. Right? I don't know how many people want to do this out loud. I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm not going to make you raise your hand, but if you want to, feel free. How many people here think that they have an engaged membership? How many people think that they have, oh, here's the one where no one's gonna raise their hand because I know some of you brought staff with you. How many people think that your staff is fully engaged? Good. Good. A couple hands went up. How many people think that their board is fully engaged? Yeah. Now, we know some board members are incredibly engaged, and that's awesome, right? Every conference we do, we'll see maybe one board member show up. Maybe. One. Right? They're invited, they can come. Maybe one. Right? Here's the reality. And I mean,
This is my third conference, and my chairman of my board has come with me every single time.
that's awesome.
Yay.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you a question. How big is your board?
17.
17. Have you offered everybody on the board, or did you just offer the seat to the chairman?
I haven't actually said anybody else want to go.
Okay.
Just kind of assume, I guess,
If you did, how many do you think would take you up on it?
maybe one or two of them.
Yeah, one or two others. Now, yeah, yeah.
They'll all be at the fall conference.
Well, of course they will. Of course, right. Here's the reality, okay? And again, I'm not afraid to say this in front of our board members, okay? I'm cool with that. Let me tell you what the reality is. Your director, your chairman of the board is probably, not always, I can give you a couple examples, probably very engaged. If they're showing up at your conferences, they're pretty engaged. That's awesome, right? They're probably pretty engaged. Anybody here want to admit to having a chairman of the board who's not exactly completely engaged with their chamber? Not too many people are going to admit it, but they're out there and you know who you are. I see you nodding your heads. I see you smiling. I see you blushing a little bit. I know. Oh yeah, listen. Why do you think I joke about it? Because it's not uncommon. We've all seen it.
Earlier, you talked about the fact that we don't tell our story well to the public. A lot of times, we don't tell our story well to our boards.
That's
Oh,
right.
you better believe it. You better believe it. You know, we go to chambers where the staff doesn't know all the members of the board. We go to chambers where the ambassadors don't know all the staff. We go to chambers where all of these different silos of people or groups of people are working in silos and don't know one another. How effective can you be if you don't know the people who are on your team? That's your team. How effective do you think the Yankees are going to be if they've got 9 players who don't know one another? They're not going to be real effective at all, right? Team building is a thing because it's real, because you got to build the team. So yeah, I mean, it's huge. And engagement begins when we start building those teams, when we start having that team concept, when we're passionate about what we're doing, when we're all doing the same thing, when we're all on the same sheet of music, working towards the same goal for the same reasons, or even different reasons. But when we're working towards one goal, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when engagement starts to happen. So we've got to be talking about not just engaging our members, but our staff. Because you know what? I'll bet you if I asked you, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'll bet you if I asked, just about everybody in this room, 80% or higher, would say that they have a member of their staff they're not sure will be there in 3 months. I'll bet you 80% of you right now can identify one member of your staff that you're just not sure if that person will be here 3 months from now. Okay? Anybody doubt my 80% number? Because I'll take the poll if I have to. But I'll bet you it's accurate. Your board of directors, right? Your board of directors. How many people have boards that are 50% or more resume fillers? Right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Resume fillers. The guys who are on the board, the ladies who are on the board, because it's a doggone thing on their resume. It looks real good, and that's why they're doing it. They're not passionate about the chamber. They don't even know what you do necessarily, but they're there. They fill a seat. They show up occasionally.
Once a month,
Well, maybe. You know, they might not even make all the board meetings.
as long as they write a check, am I right?
Are you? Yeah, I'll talk to you again next year. Are you?
No.
Yeah, you and I are going to have to put the gloves on and talk later. I don't know that I would agree with that statement. You know what, guys? There are some things money can't buy. There are some things more important than money. And with a board of director member, I think there's a lot that's far more important than the money, personally. The money's good. The money's good, but it's not the most important thing, especially at that level. It can't be. It can't be. So that board engagement, how on earth do we do that? Well, maybe that's as simple as making sure that we've got a fantastic board development committee who's making sure that we're bringing people on who understand and are passionate about the cause. People who are there to do the work, not people who are there because it's great on their resume, right? How many people have bloated boards? Either too many people, way too many people who are underperforming as board of directors members and things along those lines, right? For our board folks, guys, take a look at your boards. You know, it's our job as the director, as the chairman of the board, to make sure that they get it. It's our job as executives at our chambers of commerce to make sure that our boards are working at an efficient level. How on earth can you work at an efficient level if half of the people on the board are not engaged? We've got to figure out what's going to engage them. We've got to figure out what's going to engage them and get them engaged or get them off the board. Wow. Did he just say that in front of board members? Sure did. Guess what? I'm not scared. I'm not on any of your boards. I'm okay. Your volunteers are probably your most engaged in your chamber. That's a problem. If you don't see that as a problem, see me afterwards and I'll yell at you for an hour until you figure it out. Your volunteers should not be the most engaged people on in your organization. They're volunteers. If your board and your staff are not more engaged than your volunteers, something's wrong. There's your yardstick. Everyone wants to, how do I measure? How do I know? If your volunteers are the most involved people, the most engaged people at your Chamber of Commerce, you got some work to do. Not saying it's impossible, but you got some work to do, and those are your priorities. Okay? We got to build these things up. Your community leaders. Are your community leaders champions for the chamber or fighting the chamber? Different stories in different communities, right? So, here's another challenge for you. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to challenge you all day long, all week, or during the conference. Here's your challenge. How many people here say that your community leaders are at odds with the chamber as opposed to being champions of the chamber? Okay? I challenge you, for those of you who raised your hand, the 3 of you that raised your hand, and for the 8 of you that didn't but should have, or more, I'm going to challenge you to come up with, in the next 48 hours, a solution. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm going to challenge you to come up with a solution. What can we do to get these people on our side? What can we do to make sure that they get it? Okay? Annette will tell you a story about how she went to her community leaders who had not joined the Chamber of Commerce in her community, and they were staunchly against joining the Chamber of Commerce. All of them. We joined Myrtle Beach. We're not joining the Georgetown County Chamber. Even though they were in Georgetown County, we're going to join the Myrtle Beach Chamber instead. So finally, Annette said, you know what, enough's enough. This is ridiculous. Cover your ears. This is bullshit. Can I say that? Is that okay?
Oh, what?
Okay, sorry. Ron, I apologize. I told you. I'm sorry. I did warn you ahead of time, right? I did tell you that I might drop 1 or 2. I'm sorry. It won't get worse than that, I promise. But here's the thing. She got tired of the games. She got tired of the nonsense. She got tired of just, well, it's the way it's always been. Those guys are never going to join. And she said, you know what, we're going to do something about it. So what did she do? She called a meeting. And she said, guys, not bringing my membership professional. I'm not bringing any membership kits or any membership materials. I'm not here to talk about membership. I want you to tell me what's wrong with my Chamber of Commerce so I can fix it. And she sat down with how many of them?
9.
9 guys who were there to punch her in the mouth. All men, I think, right?
Yes,
men? Yeah.
for a solid hour.
Yeah. 1 hour of being punched in the mouth by 9 different guys, telling her everything that was wrong with the Chamber of Commerce. And guess what? None of them joined the Chamber of Commerce. But guess what happened? All of a sudden, she knows what's broken in her Chamber of Commerce. She knows what one of those broken links in the chain of engagement were, and she's able to fix them. And guess what? Eventually, now, she left the chamber before it could happen. Thank goodness, because me out here by myself would be a miserable, miserable thing. But some of those folks may very well have joined the chamber after the fact because they saw changes being made, because they saw those links being soldered back together. Okay? We've got to know the answers. We've got to have our community leaders and our community at large on our side. We've got to be telling our stories, and that's how it happens. It's asking for input and doing something about it. It's telling our stories and making sure people are paying attention, making sure they're hearing us. Right? Different things, different focuses, and holy cow, how on earth am I going to possibly do all this? I'm a one-man shop, or I'm already so doggone busy.
Jay, I was one of those that raised my hand. It's because the things that
It's all right, Ron walked out, we're good.
But, and, you know, if you're not doing anything, it's bad. If you do things, you're not always gonna make everybody happy, and you have to weigh the pros and cons.
Guess what? I'm gonna break a little news to you. You guys ready for this? You can't be all things to all people. You know, when you're working, yeah, I know, right? Heck, when I'm done, I say, well, why on earth even try? If I can't be everything to everybody, I'm out. Here's the reality, right? When you work at the benefit or for the benefit of your business community in your town, in your city, in your region, in your parish, the other stuff is just less important. And I'm sorry, don't take that as a slam against the pastors who are up in arms about it. But guess what? That's not who you serve. That's not who you serve. You serve the business community. And you know what? If the pastors disagree with it, that's fair. And you got to know that going into to the fight. But that's not your fight. You know, if it's better for business, if it's stronger for the community, if it's better, then someone's going to get hurt. There's very, very, here's a little truism for you, right? There are very, very, very few win-win-win situations out there. You know, win-win I thought it was, Jay. No, it's win-win-win. It's probably win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. Because there are so many different constituency groups and so many different points of view on every single topic that you never know which way you're going to go. You know, you never know which side of something somebody's going to be on, and there's probably 16 different viewpoints on what you've done, and 15 of them are against you. But the one you serve is the one that matters. The one you serve is the only one that you can worry about. I mean, you know, if you can worry about the rest, great. But if it comes down to, hey, it's this or that, you know, what are you going to do? You got to serve those folks who are paying your salary, and that's the members, right? So don't be afraid of doing something just because you know you're going to get some opposition if it's the right thing to do. You know, a lot of people talk about, well, you know, should we get involved in politics? Should we get involved in policy? Should we get involved in all these different things? Tell you what, it's real simple. And there was a great conversation being started on the, I think it was on the ACCE LinkedIn group earlier this week, if I remember correctly, talking about, you know, well, how do you determine whether or not to back policy or political, candidates or whatever? And I think the answer to it is pretty simple. You make that decision when you poll your membership and ask them what they think. And when your membership says, we're behind this, then so is the Chamber of Commerce. And you've just got to decide what's the threshold. Is it 51%? Is it 60%? Where are you going to be on this thing? If it's real controversial, you might want to go to 75% before you get behind it. You know, you as the executive and your board of directors may be the ones that have to make that call. But that's the simple answer. You know, you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, guys, as executives, as the chamber executive, it all starts at the top. Everything starts with you. Board development, recruitment, engagement, retention, and all of the things that we're talking about, building this culture of engagement, everything that we're discussing, it all starts right here with the people in this room. And without you making the change, it's not going to change. Your board of directors is not all of a sudden going to snap to attention and start showing up for every meeting. Your staff is not all of a sudden going to say, oh, holy cow. You know, Lynn went to a great meeting in Crowley, and now all of a sudden we got to pay attention and be more engaged. Right? Your volunteers are not going to do anything different if you don't lead the charge. Your community's not going to know any better if you don't tell the stories. Your communications director can't get the stories out if you don't tell them, hey, listen, it's great that we're on Facebook all day long. It's great that we're posting, come to the event, come to the event, come to the event, come to the event. But guess what? We're instituting the 80-20 rule on that stuff today. 20% of our content is come to our stuff, 80% is more relevant. 80% of our content that we push out, 80% is going to be our stories. It's going to be what we're doing in the community. It's going to be talking about one of our members. It's going to be celebrating one of their successes. It's going to be doing something that builds value and engagement and trust and all of those things that begin to form when we have a culture of engagement. When we stop being shills, when we stop being shills and start being advocates. That's the difference between engagement as our focus and recruitment as our focus. We've got to stop talking about come to the event, come to the event, come to the event, because A, we know only 10% of our own members are showing up for it. What percentage of the community at large that sees our stuff is going to care if only 10% of our members are showing up? We've got to talk about the bigger picture issues, and guess what? When we do that, we're going to get more shares of our information on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the LinkedIns. We're going to get that. Viral is the wrong term because none of what we do is going to go viral, but it's going to be bigger. It's going to be shared. It's going to be promoted by more people. Make sure that we're tagging people in our pictures on Facebook and things like that, because then more people see it. More people respond to it. We get more shares. We get more likes. We get more. We get more. We get more. We need a bigger footprint. Our community at large needs to hear about us. And they're not going to do that if they're not members of the chamber and getting our newsletters, or if they're not following our fan page on Facebook to make sure that they're getting all of this wonderful information about the next great event that we're pushing out there. Okay? We got to do things differently. We got to do things smarter. If you don't know how to get, if you're not getting engagement on Facebook and on Twitter and on LinkedIn and all this other stuff, if you're not using video in your social media push, please find some time during lunch, sit down with me, let's talk, I will get you there. It's simple, you just got to know how to do it. Problem is, chamber executives didn't grow up with this stuff. We don't know what we're talking about, we don't know what questions to ask, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how to use it properly. If you're not getting engagement, if people aren't clicking like or share or making comments on your post on Facebook, come see me afterwards and I'll fix that for you. But that's how you broaden the footprint. That's how you get the community at large hearing your stories. Because guess what? The community at large is getting younger and younger and younger every single day. And the younger they get, the more digital native they become, right? Digital natives, those are my kids. My kids never knew a phone that had a cord attached to it, right? My kids never knew that you had to, at one point, actually leave the couch to go change the channel on the television. And they sure as heck don't remember that push-button cable box on top of the TV set that made that big clunk sound every time you had to change the channel, right? They don't know what rabbit ears are. They don't know what those little yellow discs that used to go into those 45 records. They don't know what those things are. They're digital natives. And that's who your community is today. That's who they're becoming if they're not already there. Okay? We've got to start communicating with them at a different level, and it starts with you. Nobody's going to do it if you don't set the tone. If you don't say, we are changing on a dime, we are turning 180 degrees, there it is again. Sorry. I'm not going to pitch you, but I'm going to sure mention the name. We're turning 180 degrees today, and we're focusing on engagement. That is the thing that's going to make us stand out. That's the thing that's going to make us community leaders. That's the thing that's going to keep people engaged and retain and help us recruit, and everything all at once is that engagement piece, and that's what we're going to build, and it starts with you. Who's in it? Who's ready?
Let's go.
Yeah? Woo, I love that noise. I love that noise. So, if we're going to build an engagement culture, a culture of engagement, one of the first things that I want you to do is change the name of a lot of your stuff. Well, let's just use an example. How many people have a retention plan or a touch plan in place, in writing, ready to rock and roll? How many people? Raise your hands nice and high so everybody can see. Come on, hands up high. Retention plan, engagement plan, anything? Yeah, a handful. Okay? Everybody who had your hand up, turn to somebody else. Turn to somebody who does not have one, raise your hand. Who does not have one? If you don't have one in writing, raise your hand. If you're, no, keep them up, don't cheat on me, keep your hand up. If you see somebody sitting next to you who has their hand up, smack their hand and point at them and say, no.
Stop.
No.
I'm not gonna
That's
slap
a
on it.
bad chamber executive. No. Stop it. Guys, here it comes again. Man, oh man, I came to this conference and Jay gave me 18 days worth of homework. It'll make you better. It'll make your chamber better. It'll make you stronger. It'll make your community better. Put it in writing. When we talk about building a retention plan, I want to change the name forever. I don't ever want to hear about a retention plan ever again because we know retention isn't the focus. We need an engagement plan. What are we going to do? What are we willing to do to make sure that our membership, that our board, that our staff, that our community, that our leaders, that our mayor, that our whatever is engaged with this Chamber of Commerce? What are we going to do? Guys, if it's not the most important thing going on in your chamber right now, I can't imagine what is. I really can't. Because this is the future we're talking about. This is what's going to lead us into the next decade. We've got to do it. We've got to figure out what things do we need to change. And it might be just that simple. Stop calling it a retention plan. Start calling it an engagement plan. All of a sudden, you're fostering a culture of engagement. People are seeing that word all over the place, and they're starting to understand it. They're talking about it, and they're building upon it. And the passion can grow off of that one word. Off of that one word, people start to get it. People start to coalesce around it. It's rallying around the cause. Okay? We're changing everything. You're not changing much of anything. You're changing the focus. You're just shifting your eyes to the side and paying attention to the one thing that's going to lead you into the next decade, to the next 2, 3 decades as all of this stuff happens. Okay? What else can we get rid of? What can we do? What can we do to clean up? What can we do to downsize? What can we do to focus? Because that's all we're talking about is focus. What can we do to focus on engagement? Anybody have any suggestions that they're doing right now? What are you doing to focus on engagement in your communities? Yeah. Trying to get what? More news in the paper. Let me ask you a question. How are you doing? When you say I'm trying to get more, what are you doing differently today than you were doing before to get more? Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. One suggestion I'll make, and I'm not sure that you're not doing it already, but one suggestion I'll make is write the article for them. Your press release should be what you want. I mean, don't give them bullet points. Don't give them, well, here's kind of an idea. Write the press release so you're doing their job for them. These guys are overworked, they're underpaid, they're stressed out, they're maxed out, and they don't have time. So if you want to do work, it's going to be tough. You got to just do the work for them. And if you don't do it yourself, that's okay. Somebody in your chamber, you've probably got a PR firm or somebody who can do it for you. Okay, I'm not, not just your chamber. Any of you, we can do these things. Yes, ma'am.
I was just saying, the editor of our paper is on my board, right? And that helps.
Yes, ma'am.
We have an actual chamber page that goes into our primary newspaper, American Press, once a month. And then usually puts, we have highlights on the days and all my members on the pages.
Awesome. That's great.
They like that we put this on the app.
Is it free?
Perfect.
Well, no, we sell the app a lot. We're about to increase to a 2-page whole thread with every week.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit later today as well about some non-news revenue ideas, and I've got one for you from the world of media that I think will be interesting for you.
We partnered with our local paper, we've never done this before, and we started our chamber page, first one came out March 14th. We sell ads to, my board was thrilled about this, and it's very nominal fee, and the community is just so thrilled to have those prices. And we've been putting like information about our events, we put information about new businesses coming to town, new construction that's coming in, tips about Louisiana's rankings in, business from the state. Because of this, I kept worrying about, oh my God, what kind of calls am I going to get? All positive the next day.
Yeah.
And then next month, we're expanding to a 2-page
Awesome.
spread. The only thing is, with the staff of me and a 20-hour person, is like, yeah,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do now?
Well, and it's tough when you got the small chamber staffs. It's tough, but there's a lot that can be done out there. There's a lot of things we can do.
I'm almost scared to talk to you. You might call me out and say.
It's only because I love you.
Stop it 10 times.
Only because I love you.
We're actually doing a blanket, and when you talk about engage, one of our taglines is engage your business, enrich your community, and
Good.
expand your resources. And that's what we use, but we actually, our ambassadors are going out to every member who has renewed and bringing them a packet and saying, this is what we do, and it does not focus on network.
Good.
And I told them over and over, stop pushing networking, because we've gone at about 20%. But raise it out loud, it lays the benefits, they didn't even go about committees and committee opportunities, so all those things that they never even knew. To some of our members who had never been engaged in any capacity are now, they're having the packet dropped off to them, they get a personal visit, and it is hard.
Yep.
It's hard because it's not as easy as they thought it was gonna be.
I'm not going to yell at you on this one. You're doing great. Good job. Guys, when you bring this back to your chambers, engagement is the key word. If your people are looking at you like engagement, I don't get it, I don't understand it, talk to them about education. Talk to them about educating people. That's what we're doing. That's what engagement is. It's educating them on the offers. It's educating them on the opportunities. It's educating them on what the chamber really does. It's educating them on who really does what. It's educating them on who's on the board, who's on the staff, who's on the committees, who are the volunteers. It's educating the community on the things that you're doing that we're not telling the stories very well. It's those sorts of things that we need to be talking about, okay? So keep in mind, all of this begins with the folks in this room. Without us, we're in trouble, okay? When we're talking about engagement, when we're talking about creating, and I yelled at you and I said, tell everybody who's got their hand up, no. Bad chamber exec, Terry, bad. Get yourself a retention plan, get yourself again, I'm sorry, see, there I go again. We're so ingrained with this retention plan, I don't even call it an engagement plan yet. I don't have the terminology down yet. How do you like that? When we're creating this engagement plan, a couple things to keep in mind. First off, best practices for me for doing this are bring some people into a boardroom and sit down and just start writing. Get a couple of flip charts that stick to the wall and just start jotting down ideas, and they're all good ideas until we decide they're a bad idea. But what I want you to do is bring your chair of your board. I want you to bring a couple of your board committees. I want you, or your board of directors folks. I want you to bring a couple people from your membership committee, a couple people from your ambassador team or your diplomat team, your staff. Get everybody together who has an interest in engagement and ask them, what are we willing to do? Best practices are great. I can tell you all day long about what happened in Beaufort, South Carolina that works for them. I can tell you all day long about what Naperville, Illinois is doing and what's working for them. I can tell you all about all of these different folks that we work with. But you don't care, and you shouldn't, because you're not Naperville, Illinois. You're your town, Louisiana. And that's what matters. You've got your own individual staff, you've got your own individual community, you've got your own individual issues and challenges and strengths and weaknesses and all those things. And when you start talking about, well, what is our engagement plan going to look like? It has to be your engagement plan. It has to be your team deciding this is what we are willing and able and, damn it, going to do to make sure that we are building this community, this culture of engagement, to make sure that everybody on the membership roster today, everybody who joins tomorrow, and everybody who's thinking about joining next week knows these things, that they're engaged with the chamber, that we don't have to say, well, gosh, you know what, our community leaders aren't quite behind us every time. We know they're behind us. We know that they know what we're doing. They know that we know that they know what we do for this community. We know that they know that we're valuable to this community, right? Those are the things we need to be talking about. So best practices are fantastic, but I don't care what somebody else is doing someplace else. I want to know what you're willing to do. What is your chamber willing to do? What are your volunteers willing to do? Because again, your organization is unique. Okay? We got to keep these things in mind. We got to make sure, well, and that's exactly what I just talked about, so we can skip through that and move on. Guys, I could talk about this all day long. I am never at a loss for words. I will do this all day if you let me. So I'm going to shut up now and ask you, what haven't I covered? What do you need to know? What are we missing? What else can we help you with?
I think you need to define engagement to some point and have that the group that you talked about, because everybody does associate engagement with going to a networking event. And so having the people who are involved in that point out, engaging is, are you reading our emails? That's one of the things we actually first do we ask. Are you getting our
You know you can track that stuff. You know you can track that stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay? Everybody, is anybody not using Constant Contact? Everybody's using ConCon? Raise your hand if you're not using Constant Contact. Real high. Did you know that Constant Contact is free for Chambers of Commerce? Constant Contact is an email management tool. Okay? It will help you database all of your email contacts. It'll help you send out all of your emails. It will help you, holy cow. Oh, and Chambermaster has one that actually does the same thing in some respects too, doesn't it?
Yes.
It interfaces.
Interfaces, well, I mean, well, right, it interfaces with, but I mean, yeah.
Same reports, like contact reports, that are opening emails and all of you look at it, yeah, we have all that.
That all, okay, so, but you integrate with ConCon, so it's ConCon's emails you're reporting, correct?
No, if you email directly out to Chambermaster, it'll have the same reports of the day open email.
Perfect.
But our groups will save the contact.
Perfect. We talk about Chambermaster a a lot. I've never used them, and that's the Chamber Master Queen, so she knows all of this stuff. And when I'm up here doing it by myself and say something stupid like that, I'm glad you're in the room to catch me. So, guys, there are tools out there that'll make all of this stuff easy. Whether you're using Chamber Master or some other tool, there are other products out there that will help you make all of this stuff easy. You can track it. Guys, let me tell you what, you cannot manage what you can't measure, right? You can't coach what you can't measure. If you don't know the numbers, you don't possibly know where you are or where you're going or how you're going to get there, right? Tools like that will let you know the numbers.
Well, you know, some of them, they don't let you see the rate on them, and the other thing is that, you know, our mount trade sometime, and so that's why we ask specifically that question. We also ask if there's any other key personnel to add, et cetera.
Yep.
The point was, it's like, you know, what do you consider engagement?
Right. So, what do we consider engagement? I would consider engagement whatever they consider engagement. And that's a cop-out answer, but it's the truth. Because to me, here's the deal. What I want to know is, what do they find valuable? Why'd you join the Chamber of Commerce? And if you decide to retain, if you decide to renew your membership next year, why? Why on earth would you stay a member of the Chamber of Commerce? What are you getting out of it? What's in it for you? Right? If they say, I don't know, guess what? That's an at-risk member, and they're probably not going to renew. We need to figure out what it is that that's keeping them there. One of the key questions I love to ask people in any sales situation: what keeps you up at night? What keeps you up at night? I've even gone so far on a sales call once. I'm meeting with a guy, big, 6'2", big guy, and we sit down, and he's at this massive desk, and I'm sitting in that little weakling chair of fear, right? The salesman's chair across the table from him. And I said, you know what? I was showing off, quite frankly. My sales manager was with me, and I was showing off for him. I said, Dean, I want you to do me a favor. I said, I know this is unusual, but just bear with me for a second. Do me a favor and close your eyes. Dean's eyes snapped shut. I said, I just want you to picture this for a second. It's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Your lovely wife is snoring, that soft little snore that she does. And of course, he laughed, it was cute, whatever. I said, but you, on the other hand, are wide awake. You can't sleep. Something's wrong. You're staring at the ceiling, counting tiles, watching the fan blades spin. You're sweating. You're uncomfortable. It's not good. And man, oh man, something's keeping you up at night. And I just sat there for a good 30 seconds, and I let him soak all of that in. And I watched this whole, and this is a big 6'2" guy. I mean, this is not your normal 6'2" guy. This is a Scott, Terry guy. This is a big guy. And all of a sudden, he curls up in this little fetal position practically in his chair. His head slumps down, his arms crossed, his legs, everything. And I could see the pain on his face as his face kind of tightened up. And he was sitting there shaking his head. And I let him soak in that pain for a second. Finally, I said, hang on, Dean, open your eyes. I said, man, that really hurt you. I mean, there was a physical change in your persona there. What on earth happened? I said, man, Jay, let me tell you. And he proceeded for the next 90 minutes to tell me everything that was wrong with his organization. Everything. Everything. And guess what? During that conversation, he told me exactly how to sell it. If they tell you what's keeping them up at night, they're telling you how to keep them. If they tell you what's keeping them up at night, they're telling you how to keep them. If I know, for example, that what's keeping Scott up at night is the fact that, we've got a zoning issue that's about to come up, and, they're going to, again, this isn't my world. They're going to put a signage ordinance out on Main Street. It's going to really hurt my business. Or there's construction that's about to happen in front of my place of business. It's going to really, really hurt me. Do we have a solution for that? Do we have an answer for it? Do we know who to call? Do we at least know who to call to see what we can do to get some sort of a walkway created so that his place of business isn't completely shut down? So he's got some parking, so that whatever the issue is, can we help? Yeah, we can help. We tell a story about a chamber in Columbia. The salesperson goes out, the membership development person goes out to a restaurant that was just about to open, trying to recruit them as a new member of the chamber. And the owner says, you know what, I know I invited you in today, but this isn't going to work. I've got 7 inspectors in my building right now inspecting every last piece of my facility so that we can open. They're holding me up, and I can't do anything. And she said, can you get... The sales rep said, well, what can I do? She says, you know what, if you can get these people out of my way, I would join right now, but I can't do it because they're here. She said, hang on a second. She turned around, walked to the front of the store, picked up her cell phone and called her, who was it? Help me. Columbia. Who did she call?
She called the political, the
Political
governmental
Affairs
affairs director at the
For the
chamber.
chamber, thank you. I'm drawing a blank on the job title. And said, listen, here's the situation, what can you do? Guy says, give me 5 minutes, call you right back. Puts down the phone. He evidently called somebody at the city and said, listen, this is ridiculous. You got 7 inspectors from 7 different agencies down here giving this woman a, what can we do? Within 5 minutes, the phone rings of each and every one of these different inspectors in the room, and all but one of them were kicked out. Get out of here, that guy's gonna do the job for all of you. Get out. Within 15 minutes of the salesperson walking in the door, the room is now clear, there's one inspector doing the job, and guess who's a new chamber member? Immediately. Immediately. Why? Because they did something special. They did something unique for that one person that said, you know what, that's invaluable. I've got a concierge. I've got somebody who's going to do what I need done because I need it done, and that's what my membership is buying. My membership is buying getting stuff done. You like that? I said stuff. That's what my membership buys. Getting
Just for you,
stuff
Ron.
done. That was for you, Ron, because you know I wouldn't have said that otherwise. I'm getting stuff done. To me, if you would define engagement no other way, I'll define it like that. We get stuff done for you. And not only do we get stuff done, we get the stuff done that you individually care about. If you got a problem, I'm your guy. Everybody's got a guy, right? You know, everybody's got a guy. And it's funny. If you follow me on Facebook at all, you'll know I've got a lot of guys. I get a lot of requests every week. Hey, Jay, I need somebody who, ... who do you know? Well, I got a guy. Hang on, let me connect you. You meet you. And, do it right over Facebook, and 3 minutes later, they're hooked up, and that's great. What do I get out of it? What do I get out of it?
You were the guy.
I'm the go-to guy. If you don't have a guy, I'm your guy. I'll find you my guy. I'll get you a guy. No problem at all. And guess what? That's your job. You are the go-to guy in your community. You're the one who knows a guy. Because you know a guy for everything. You are the one that knows the guy. And if you have to break it down that simple to them, break it down that simple. But that's what we're about. We're about making sure that Ron knows if he needs help with something, he knows who to go to. And if he doesn't know who to go to, he comes to me, and I'll put him with the person that I want him to be put with because I know a guy. I know that's simple. But you know what? I mean, if you have to boil it down that low, okay. We get things done that you need done. We do the things that everybody else thinks just happen. Right? And we do them specifically for you. If you got a problem, Dawn, you call me. I'm going to take care of it. Okay? Guys, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, I'm going to encourage you.